Ahoy, mateys! When you're a sailor and have to spend months or even years at sea, it's natural that, amongst other activities, storytelling would become a significant part of your day. And Storytell They Told. Today I've compiled my favorite myths and legends that our swashbuckling, booty hauling sea comrades believed in. The Mermaid. The mermaid is not really a singular creature, it's more like an archetype. Several cultures throughout the world developed mythological beings that were half women, half fish. In ancient Greece, we have the Sirenes, who lured sailors and ships and could have good or bad intentions. And then we have the Nereidas, mythological creatures that lived underwater with Poseidon. Man, I'm having too much fun with somewhat accurate pronunciations. The European conception of the mermaid seems to borrow elements from both creatures. With the mermaid, we get the half woman, half fish of the Nereida, and from the Sirenes, we get the motif of luring sailors with their enchanting voice and figure? Oh, Jeremiah, look at that nautical beauty. Oh, oh, na 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 na, na da 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 da, ooh, Bro, that's a fish? What? Half woman, half fish? Fish? Hey, no kink shaming. I don't comment on what you do all night with Woodleg Jim. Yikes. The mermaid is the particular way medieval and modern Europeans decided to sexualize fish because why not? And the most hilarious historical anecdote is Christopher Columbus reporting to see not one, but three mermaids. In an edited and translated version of Columbus's diary of the 1492 journey, we get: on the previous day, when the admiral went to Rio del Oro, he saw three mermaids, which rose well out of the sea. But they are not so beautiful as they are painted, though to some extent they have the form of a human face. I elaborated an historically accurate recreation of what happened there. Inoltre, sono l'unico a sapere che il mondo è rotondo. Non è vero? Stai zitto, idiota. India. Sirena. So yeah, perhaps the sky isn't the best source for verifying mermaid sightings, but it does serve the purpose of illustrating how sailors of the time believed in these creatures. Almost 2 centuries later, this belief was still held because, if you can count on something, it's long voyages where women were not allowed, creating unreal levels of male horniness. Did the woman fish have to be hot, Jones? Come on, be honest. Yeah, I guess not, Mr. Raccoon. Thank you for validating my point, you twisted, naughty, degenerate seaman. The Kraken. Ah, the dude from Baldur's Gate! The Kraken, the most iconic deep sea mythological creature. The Kraken follows an extremely complex mythological trope. Take a normal animal, make it a giant, put it in the sea. It's a creature that shares some motifs with mythological creatures from other cultures and mythologies, like the Scylla from the Greek, Jormungandr and Afgufa from the Norse, and Leviathans from all-time best-selling fiction novel The Bible. The shared motifs between them being M big monster, one ate your boat, skill issue. In Francesco's Negri's Viaggio Settentrionale. Man, I'm having way too much fun pretending I know how to speak Italian. So, in Viaggio Settentrionale, from 1700, Negri was hanging around in the North Sea and writing about it, and he describes us what a kraken is and how it would attack. I find there are no sea worms or sea snakes in the sea, but at sea, another animal begins to reveal itself, perhaps no less large and terrible. Sea krak is called a fish of immense size, with a flat round figure with many horns and arms at the ends, with which, raised from all sides, it grips the fishing boats and tries to submerge them. From this passage, we get a deep fundamental relation of the Kraken myth with Northern European superstitions and Northern European geography. We also get the description of the iconic Kraken attack: spec into the stealth tree, attack from below, tightly hugged the wooden foot dispenser. I was surprised to find that the Kraken was so deeply connected to Scandinavian mythology. It's not like they are in need of any more cool monsters, but they just keep on coming. The myth of the Kraken was likely spread through word of mouth from sailors who originated from Northern Europe, where awareness and fear of this mythological creature was more prevalent. The association with Davy Jones or any other mythical pirate captain able to control the Kraken is pure bullshit.
You cannot control the Kraken.
The Flying Dutchman. Contrary to popular belief, the Flying Dutchman myth is not about a guy named Dutch who flies.
Jesus, what is that?
But about a cursed vessel whose members have been dead a long time. The curse prevented them from docking their vessel, and so they were doomed to wander the seas aimlessly, heralding sea storms in their wake. The legend says that if you approached the vessel, the ghost sailors would ask you to deliver messages to their deceased kin, which would be terrifying for procrastinators. Whoa, that's the Flying Dutchman! Whoa, so scary. Dude, they're ghosts! Is their ship upside down? Ooh, boo-hoo-hoo, I'm so scared. Mate, their captain just asked for you to deliver a message to his mom? On a more serious note, this myth seems to have become more embellished with time. The earliest written accounts we have date from the late 18th century, from a voyage to Botany Bay by George Barrington, from 1795. We get a plausible origin for the myth. A Dutch man of war was doing the usual route to Java through way of South Africa, sank, and then sailors reported seeing the ship again, veiled by dark clouds, disappearing as suddenly as it appeared. When in port, sailors recounted the supposed apparition and dubbed it the Flying Dutchman. From Scenes of Infancy by John Leyden, 1803, we get an elaboration on the association with storms, specifically hurricanes on the coast of South Africa, a description of its unnatural sailing movements and speed, gliding rapidly in the wind's eye, and a new development, the cursed crew motif. The curse being divine punishment and the reason why the ship cannot be admitted into any naval port, forced to endlessly roam the seas forever. The next development on the myth is the send a message to my mom please part, but that one I couldn't find the source for, so take it with a grain of salt. I only included it because I thought of a funny skit for it. You could say it's another classic Wikipedia case of source, I just made it up. Despite that, we see the myth beginning with the mysterious wreck of a Dutch ship, sailors reporting to see it after the wreck, that evolving into a cursed crew, and then somehow developing into a correspondence horror story. The original story of the ghost ship that appeared with or brought the storms was likely the one being shared among sailors in the early to mid 18th century, perhaps even late 17th century, but giving precise dates is always hard when it comes to oral stories that haven't been written down yet. The cursed crew part was an addition of the 19th century, when writers and poets began romanticizing the story, plaguing my research and forcing me to second-guess what is real or what was made up to entice bored Victorian bourgeois nerds to buy more books. Now, if you're really fun at parties and want a more factual or natural explanation of Flying Dutchman sightings, I'd argue that the Fata Morgana phenomenon is the cause. Fata Morgana is when the sea horizon line reflects objects, making them appear ghostly and upside down in some cases. The heralding storms part is just based on the storms that the sea does, in fact, create, especially in the southern coast of South Africa. I've verified this part personally. The Flying Dutchman myth has become a universal cultural reference, appearing in a wide variety of shows like Doctor Who, SpongeBob SquarePants, in films, namely Pirates of the Caribbean, in video games like Sea of Thieves and Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, and lastly, music, through artists like Richard Wagner and the Jolly Rogers. Note that in Pirates of the Caribbean, they decided to meld the Flying Dutchman and Davy Jones Locker myths together because two awesome myths would have been too much coolness for a Disney audience to wrap their heads around. And speaking of, Davy Jones Locker. Now, this was supposed to be a full section of its own, but honestly I couldn't find enough sources for it. The locker is an euphemism for death in the high seas. Sailors that died would be buried at sea and preserved in this locker, so it's a metaphorical coffin. Sounds about right. Now, who is Davy Jones? We don't know. Various hypotheses have been put forth. A devilish sea demon, a pirate captain so cruel as to inspire legend, a tavern owner who killed sailors and preserved their bodies in caskets. Which one is the plausible one? I just told you, we don't fucking know. This is a mess. For all other myths, I was able to find primary sources that helped to explain where the myths originated, but for this one I only managed to find this account from Captain George Roberts. Roberts is commissioned to transport some goods, and during the journey he is captured by pirates. The pirates were very polite, and after relieving Captain Roberts of his oh so cumbersome cargo, they settled their disagreements on how to release him through diplomacy. Some of the crew said they would offer some goods to guarantee Captain Roberts' safe return to land, but the ship's quartermaster said he would toss them into Davy Jones Locker if they did. That's it. The best source I could find only manages to confirm that sailors believed in the myth, but it doesn't help us understand where it came from. We also can't tell if they believed it literally, like they did with the Flying Dutchman, mermaids, or the Kraken, or if they only believed it figuratively, as a sort of burial in absentia. If you have some insight or sources, please let me know. I'm going fucking crazy. It shouldn't be this hard to find the source of a myth with such a lasting cultural effect. Hey, have you considered that maybe you're just bad at, like, research and history stuff? How about you gaze at the locker yourself, you damned wretch?